How is it that these cabins that were built with only an initial investment of $100,000 and in less than a year later valued as high as $2.55 million? Now, most people would assume that to build an entire home would cost significantly more than $100,000, let alone 4 of them with a view, and they'd be right. And in theory, to reach that 7-figure mark in 1 year, this property would have to generate over $212,000 a month, or that's about $7,000 a day, every single day. But I know that's not true. There's another way. Now, I've seen a lot of people invest in properties, Airbnbs and unique spaces, and ultimately fail. And in this case, it's not really about funding or location, and it's not really about the structures either. So I spent the last couple of weeks studying the area, staying at the property, and then even low-key interviewing the owner and builder without him really knowing. And I did all this to learn the secrets behind the unlikely success of 4 cabins in the middle of nowhere? To understand how 2 scheme buddies turned $100,000 into millions, there are 5 parts you have to understand. Each part unlocks another clue to how making millions is not about being lucky. I started studying these cabins about a month ago when I was doing research for another video on unique rentals and spaces that made the most money on Airbnb. And in that process, I saw some pretty amazing, relatively inexpensive spaces make like $10,000 to $20,000 a month. But then I stumbled across Brian's place, which had not 1 nor 2, but 4 Scandinavian cabins. Why would someone build these here? As a fellow land hacker, creating multiple income streams from one property is my ultimate goal. But I don't get it. Why build 4 identical small cabins in a dead town of 400 people just 10 feet apart from each other? These definitely won't have any, if much, resale value anytime in the future. So, you guys know me, I gotta run some numbers. And this is what one of those cabins is making each month. And then for the year. It doesn't really make much sense. Or does it? So back when I was in robo research mode, I came across a news article from last year from a local newspaper, and it's starting to make a lot more sense. Brian, the owner, was making a big splash, or is making a big splash in the local community, and was very transparent with his project to win over the people and community. Now, we can see this in old Facebook posts and local media outlets. He used the media to his advantage by befriending the zoning department and building relationships with other local businesses, which is really low-key brilliant since projects like this really do require community support. But what's important about partnerships are that they're mutually beneficial to everyone. Guests who come and stay the night, they get a nice free treat, and it's advertising for the local businesses, which increases tourist spending and then thus local tax revenue. W's all the way around. It's brilliant. Man, that smart business partnering is partially why this project is so different from most other short-term rentals. There are 2 things that sets this project apart from what I can see anyways. The land and the coffee shop next door. Let's start with that coffee shop. Now, what makes this project different is that Brian owns this coffee shop too. And there's not 1 Brian, there's 2. Twinsies, except 1 is spelled with a Y. So what appears to have happened here was that these were 2 friends decided to partner up and buy this 1918 cafe back in 2019 for $460,000. They then converted it into a space where they could roast and grind their own beans, and seems now to be a local favorite, which is always a good thing. Now, it also looks like the cafe they purchased came with some extra acreage behind it. Big bonus. So they must have gotten approval to build on it. Or what's more likely is that they were able to split it off to create the short-term rental community. Let's take a look at their coffee shop. Now, I obviously don't have exact numbers, but having friends in the restaurant industry, looking at national data for cafes, along with a few assumptions just from experience, I can run some fairly accurate numbers real quick if you give me 1 second here. Okay, so I think I got the numbers here. They've got a pretty darn good cash flow each month with that coffee shop. We can see here it's just over $2,000 a month in pre-tax profits. Okay, now I want to take a look at those cabins. Let me pull up my rental analysis spreadsheet called my unit economics, and then give me a quick second to pull up all of the other websites that I want to pull my data from, like Airbnb, and my other sites. The numbers that this property is spitting out, it's going to blow your mind. But first, we need to talk with Brian and get a few more details so I can firm up my numbers here, and then they're gonna make a lot more sense. But right now, I'm properly intrigued. I need to book this place and check this all out for myself. And booked. Okay, so I did a bit more digging, and this is really genius of them. Splitting the lot gave them two separate businesses and allowed them flexible zoning. They are going to be bringing more business into the area, aka tax dollars, so the community was happy, and they're giving an old abandoned area a facelift. These are some old photos from Google Street, but most of these buildings were built in the early to mid 1900s and are now abandoned. So the Bryans are actually creating a tremendous amount of value here, not just for themselves, but for the community and town as a whole. It's pretty smart. But here's the big brain tactic that I love. They built two businesses that are symbiotic. What? Do you remember watching those nature documentaries and it shows sharks swimming with those smaller fish all over its body, even going inside its mouth and eating the parasites and leftovers? That's a symbiotic relationship. Bryan Squared did that here. The cabin's drawing guests from out of town to stay in the area, and then every morning they get up and a new round of customers head to the coffee shop for breakfast and a drink. Win-win, simply brilliant. It's a fairly common strategy in business. Some call it owning your vertical. I actually implement a similar strategy. Here's my visual. Now, I own and invest in real estate, obviously. So naturally, I created a property management company. I then started a content creation business around real estate. Fancy way of me just starting YouTube, which then turned into my program where I teach students how to do what Bryan Squared is doing, basically. So they can learn about real estate investing, unique rentals, and building multiple income streams from one property. I call it my Land Hacker program. And if you're interested in joining the community, check out my website, kaiandrew.com, and you can see what we're doing. You can even set up a free call with me or somebody on my team to see if it's a good fit for you. But naturally, my students, my members who start buying real estate and generating a lot of income need tax guidance and strategies. So I bought a tax business. And a huge part of real estate investing is something called cost segregation, where you can utilize your properties in a certain way and significantly reduce your taxable income each and every year. It's actually one of the huge bonuses of real estate investing. So we added a cost segregation service to our business. Each business works with the other, leading to a better experience and service to my members, and allows me to expand upon my business, where they feed each other, and it's symbiotic. Okay, so we actually weren't planning on running into the owner at the property, but we did when we first arrived, and I completely failed to get my equipment and gear set up. But this is essentially what we learned from this mad genius.
We started building right when construction prices were going up, back in 2020. So I calculated everything that we needed, lumber, nails, screws, everything, and I ordered all of it. It was literally stacked in piles all over the site, and I saved a ton of money because within a few months things were completely gone and lumber has shot through the roof. Each cabin is roughly 600 square feet, and it ended up costing us roughly only $175 a square foot.
Okay. That's absolutely insane. If you were to build these today, it's gonna be closer to $225 to $250 a square foot, maybe even edging closer to $300 a square foot. Now, I know that you want the numbers, but while we're here, let's take a quick look around so you have some context of what's really going on. I promise it'll be fast. So this is what it's like when you first arrive. Everyone has their own designated parking space. Bam! There are 4 cabins, all identical Scandinavian design. Boom! They're perched up on the hill that looks over the river. Sweet! We go inside and there's a kitchen, living area, sleeping area, super comfortable by the way, and a luxe bathroom with heated floors and a poop closet. Blammo. Speaking of the partnerships from earlier, the space comes with coffee, duh, they own a coffee shop next door, beer from the local distillery, and wine from the local vineyard, which, fun fact, this whole area is known for its microbrews and wine. They should just call this place the Locals. Trademarked by Kai Andrew. The banger part of the space that gets a lot of bookings are these floor-to-ceiling windows and private deck. Now we can go around back and we can check out the communal area that we can actually see from the private deck, where each cabin has its own fire pit. Oops, we sat in the wrong one. And there you go, communal hangout area with a fire pit. Whammo.
Now, one thing I do want to note out is that Bryan was very smart with his landscaping and used all native plants, meaning that after the first year, he won't have to worry about watering or caring for them. Smart.
Okay, that's a quick tour as promised. If you want to see more, go and follow me on Instagram at KaiJAndrew. I'm going to upload a bunch of photos and videos so you can see more of the space. We just got back. Well, actually we got back a little bit while ago, but I've been working on my analysis of one of the cabins. Now I had to do a couple of estimates, especially around the occupancy rates and the nightly rates by month, because this area is actually pretty seasonal, which is actually kind of nice because there's 2 peak seasons. But my research sites give me a pretty high confidence in my accuracy. Here, take a look. So I just ran this. Not sure if you can see that. You know what? I don't think that's gonna work really well. Let me do this. Here you go. By the way, you can download this spreadsheet. I use it literally probably thousands of times already. It's just my analysis of short-term rentals, and it's basically called unit economics for real estate, essentially. So after filling this all out and putting in my assumptions based off of what I know of the area, just from my experience, and then obviously cross-referencing a couple of different sites, I got a whopping $1,119 a year. Wait a second though, that's actually really good. Our mantra is the first door gets us to break even. Now, the first cabin may only be profiting $1,000 a year, but cabins 2, 3, and 4 are profiting $50,319 each year because cabin 1 took care of all the expenses for a grand total of $152,076 each year in profits. Now, I don't care who you are. That is a handsome income for anybody off one property. And one of the secrets to achieving that success is being the big fish in a small pond. Now, the city has a population of like roughly 400 people, and it relies on people stopping off the freeway for a coffee break or to fuel up. Now, there's a handful, like literally 30 or 40 other rentals, very basic rentals in the area, but nothing like this. The deeper secret though, is that there's a really popular town about 10 minutes down the freeway and popular spots on the river and mountain that are all super close. Now, okay, even with that, it still doesn't make sense though, right? $100,000 for 4 cabins and now worth 2.55 million. Well, yeah. Yeah, baby. Be careful with the information that I'm about to share with you. You'll know just enough to be dangerous. There's a lot of other factors that we haven't gotten into yet, like zoning, permits, construction process, financing, and actually how to find a location like this so you are the big fish and you're not just entering a pond with a bunch of other big fish and then you're just a small fish. I think I might have taken that metaphor a little bit too far, but you guys get what I'm saying. And that's why I created the Land Hacker community and program, where there are literally hundreds of like-minded investors just like myself, and I'm sure a lot of you are watching this right now, who are building projects just like this. Seriously, go to my website, set up a free call with me or my team to see if you're a good fit to join and work directly with us. So we already know the cost of this build. 4 cabins multiplied by 600 square feet per cabin multiplied by $175 per square foot equals $420,000 in total. Add in furniture and artwork, that's another $30,000. Landscaping and miscellaneous, that's maybe another $50,000. And we're all in at $500,000. Now here's the real crazy secret. Because of zoning and permits, these are not considered normal homes. These are hotels. Therefore, the Bryans were able to get an SBA loan with 20% down, which on $500,000 is $100,000. There's the financing. In this case, an SBA 504 loan for new construction of a business facility. Now that we know the cost, let's talk about why these guys are so smart and pretty rich now too. Remember that $151,000 in profit that they make each year, which is also backed up by my other estimates and me cross-referencing the data? Well, the real number that we're interested in is NOI, or net operating income. EBITDA for you finance folks, which is a higher number, $178,476, because we do not include loan payments. Now, why is this number important? Well, this number is incredibly important because this is how you value an income-generating real estate investment. This is the number investors care about. They don't care about the sticks, siding, or windows. Their primary concern is how much profit does an investment spit out each year. Then we apply something called a cap rate, which we've talked about before in the past. So current looking at comps in the market, we are seeing that hotels and motels and inns are selling in the 7 to 9% range, or 7 to 9% cap, or cap rate. Now we divide that out and we see the value of this property is valued between, drum roll here, $2 million and $2.55 million. It's that clean, cut, and dry when it comes to investment or commercial properties. And that's why I preach equity. Now, if the two Bryans are able to keep this up, they will have a valuation in the millions off of an initial investment of $100,000. And the crazy, absolute, insane thing about all of this is that doesn't even include the coffee business or the land that they've already split up. They already have other businesses in the works right now to create even more income streams on the same property. This is like the ultimate land hack, like a food truck hub, sauna, rec area, and even an event hall for live music. Now, cash flow from real estate is cute, and it allows you to buy that Lamborghini. Equity, though, that's the real game if you want generational wealth. And that's what the real entrepreneurs and investors, that's what they pursue. And this is a prime example why. But that requires strategy and a plan, which is tough to get sometimes when you don't have the experience yet. And that's what we focus on in the Land Hacker community and programs. So seriously, come schedule your free call if you want to learn more about projects just like this and how you can do it too. And if you thought this project was really cool, you gotta see how this blue collar worker retired early, literally in his 50s, with just one well-placed treehouse.